After I finished my service as a lone soldier in the Israeli army, I realized this was my defining moment. It's time for me to build success, create stories, and the financial freedom that I never had before. I used to be trapped with money, and now it empowers me. Since then, I've developed a multi-million-dollar financial advisory business, a podcast that has been featured on all the global media stations around the world. One of my favorite things to do is educate people on the mindset to build resilient wealth, build success, and have fun doing it. In my show, you will not only get best-of-class tips, amazing stories, a bunch of laughs, but you'll also get a mindset shift from a family of people who have come from nothing and will help you be ready to succeed. Welcome to the Resilient Riches Podcast. It's very hard to look at money 30 years from now, 40 years from now, 50 years from now, when we're in the weeds of it. But if we have someone that can actually take us through the journey of building wealth and how our emotions and money are actually interconnected, that's going to give us a lot of insight into our life. So we thought today to bring in a financial expert who is actually on the academic studies to talk to you and to bring to you a different way of looking about money, something that we preach every single day, but actually doing it in an academic way, and someone who's written books about it and really built their entire portfolios. He's going to be really open about his wealth, about the shortcomings that have happened in his life, but also all the positivity and greatness that he has achieved throughout his entire journey. Welcome to this episode. I'm sure you're going to find it incredibly insightful. Dr. Meir Statman is going to be joining us today. I talk all the time about behavioral finance, how your values are really important to the way that you think about money and how you build wealth. But people keep asking me like, hey, is there really science behind that? Is there real factuals behind that? So I thought, let's bring in a professor, a PhD, who went to #1 Columbia. He went to University of Jerusalem, and has been doing behavioral finance and has written a book talking about the finance and behaviors and values that's so important to money. So Meir Statman, from our friend from California, he doesn't want to talk about the weather. He just wants to talk about money all day. So Meir, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We're really excited to have you, and welcome everybody to another episode of Resilient Riches. Meir, can you give a little background about yourself, and then we'll get right into it.
Well, so as you said, I'm a professor. I'm a professor of finance. I started teaching 50 years ago at Rutgers University, close by to you. I've always was interested in people and the behavior of people and what makes them tick. I guess everybody is, except that in my case, it has become part of my scholarship. And what I am trying to do in my own work, and of course relying on the work of many others, is to expand the circle of finance and move on from this cardboard image of people as maximizing wealth to people in real life, people like you and me and the listeners who are trying to really enhance their life well-being. And well-being, yeah, you need money for well-being. That is, there's no marriage without money. Even in a synagogue or church, they expect you to give money. But obviously, once you have enough money, there is more to it to get to life well-being.
So how do you connect the two? Because obviously everybody, the whole concept was that people are rational and they're going to do everything that they can to maximize their profits. But that's on the financial side. That's like a very specific niche of people that just go only think about money. And I don't think that, I haven't found that to be true. I find emotions play such a big role in this. So how have you broken off this concept of everybody just thinks about maximizing wealth?
Well, if you just look at yourself, I mean, I use myself as a laboratory, and I know that I'm interested in money, but I'm interested in money for particular reasons so that I can use it in some ways. Now, the finance that we have, kind of standard, what we call standard finance, tried to make things mathematical and simple. And so they said, rational people want to maximize their wealth, and it sounds reasonable, and they are immune to cognitive and emotional errors. I'll tell you a quick story that has to do with your part of the world. In New York, so I lived in New York as we were studying at Columbia, and Con Edison in 1973, when we had the Arab embargo, they stopped paying dividends. Now, in 1974, they had an annual meeting, and there were shareholders coming from all over. And a woman, an old woman from Florida, now she was crying. She was saying, I had a husband. Now Con Ed is my husband. I live on those dividends, and now you deprive me of those dividends. Well, I learned at the Hebrew University from Miller and Modigliani, two people who subsequently got Nobel Prizes, that dividends don't matter. That if you don't get a dividend from a company, then you create homemade dividend by selling a few shares. But the thought of selling shares did not even occur to that poor woman. And so instead of saying this woman is irrational, wait a minute, people are rational, I said there is something here. And then when I found the work of Klyman and Tversky, two psychologists, I said, aha, now I understand those issues. They have to do with framing. That is, we put our monies in separate pockets. There's money for capital and there's money for income. We are good at transferring money from income to capital, say in a 401k or general saving. In fact, the problem that you probably see in people who are older, who are no longer working, is that they have the hardest time spending money. They've had the hardest time dipping into capital. And so they are looking for investments, lots of them stupid, that generate income instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to take out of my capital. After all, all the people my age are subject to RMD, are required minimum distribution, and they are, so it's 3% or 4% or 5%. Well, there are some people who take that money because they must, and then they put it back into saving, and they live as if they are poor people.
I find it exactly that. I find it that people live in this world that they like. Savings is really for future spending. Like, why do we save? We save to spend it. We don't save to die with it. Dying with it doesn't make any difference. You die with $1 million or $300,000. It doesn't actually make a difference in anything, but it makes a difference in the way that you live. Your death doesn't change, but your life can change pretty dramatically. And it's a really interesting approach, especially for people who are older. They think that they're going to run out of money. But to our listeners, how can somebody combine the two to, number one, maximize wealth, but also be able to live their life and not stress about making so much money or stress about the day-to-day life finances that we're required to have?
Well, this is kind of your work. That is, when you have a client in front of you and he or she is worried about running out of money, you're going to do a spreadsheet and you're going to say, okay, here it is, and you are earning this much and you're spending this much and you're saving this much. I can show you that in that level of earning and spending, you are going to have enough even if you live to 120. And you are going to, on top of that, accumulate whatever, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. So knowing that you know that, what are you going to do with that surplus? Give it to the kids. Good. I say it is better to give with a warm hand than a cold one. I describe how my parents, when we were married, my wife and I, and we were married 56 years ago, and we are still married. I was 22, and my bride was 21. And the first time our parents met, we had dinner together. And then Nava and I were excused to go for a walk, and our parents sat down to business. Business meant deciding how much each pair of parents is going to give to the young couple to get them started on their life, to have a down payment on an apartment. This is what we do. This, I think, yes, it is a matter of values, but my values are such that I have been helped by my parents as much as they could, and I'm helping my kids as much as I can. And I support our charitable causes. We've established an endowment at Santa Clara University that has several $1 million because I find myself in a situation where I have more money than I can spend.
And
So
it's a beautiful thing. These endowments, especially for people who, now you understand money and you understand how it affects people emotionally. But I tell people all the time, do it now. Do it before it's too late. Do it while you can enjoy it. You can help so many people, and you might as well maximize it. Like that, and it's actually been something very interesting that we've been going through for the past 6 months. A lot of the Jewish communities coming to us, they're coming with these same problems. We have too much money. We can't spend it all. What should we do with it? So what we've been doing is we're creating a concept for them. It's to set up an endowment that the dividends and the interest and the income will go into this foundation, and that will give money consistently. Instead of just putting, here's $10 million, thank you very much, goodbye. You take 10 million, it's invested forever. You have good trustees, you have a good foundation, and the dividends and the income from and the gains of it will then pay forever. So it kind of it, and if you can't structure that on your death, you can only structure that really in your life.
absolutely. So you can. So this really is the sacred work of people like you. You really are kind of like I describe financial advisors as financial physicians. That is, you know that two surgeons might be equally good with a knife, but one of them kind of explains what is going on, calms you down, even if the news is bad, and so on. And the other one just stays quiet and just cuts. Uh, you know, they might be equally skilled with a knife, as I said, but they are different in the kind of well-being they create for the patient, and that really is what you do for your clients. You care about their well-being. You know that money is the foundation that is necessary, but you know that well-being is more than that, and you care about your clients, and so you help them get that well-being that they crave, even if they don't say that. They might come to you and they say, uh, "I'm here so that you can help me with my money," uh, and then at some point you say, "Well, yes, I'll help you with your money, um, but I'll help you with a whole lot more. I'll help you with your life."
Yeah, I agree. So over the last 50 years, you've done so much studying into the way that people think about money and that whole philosophy behind it. What was the most astounding fact that you found that people made a mistake with their money, and what have you done to correct it?
Well, I think that the basic mistake people make is in separating money from life, and in trying to, if you ask people what is most important to you, it is likely that the first thing they're going to say is family, not money. But of course, you need money for family, and so you will not call it. I will not call it astounding. This really is. People will say it's common sense, except that in finance somehow we, instead of broadening the field, we narrowed it. We say, that is for marketing, that is for social work, this is for sociology. And I say that is stupid, these are things that are intertwined. So there's not really behavioral finance, there's finance, and finance should be broad, uh, and should incorporate knowledge that we have from psychology, of course, but also sociology. It is amazing how much sociologists have learned from people's lives and what makes them happy and miserable, and that we in finance can learn from them. So we contribute in our own way, and they contribute in theirs. I'm writing now a paper about the subject of uh, shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves in three generations, they say, about how the patriarch makes the money, then the second generation eats too much of it, and then by the third generation, it is all gone. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, well, what is it that you want with that money? Uh, Money is for people. And so, of course, I earn a whole lot more than my parents. My parents were Holocaust survivors. They provided a wonderful life for me and my brother and sister, but they did not have the kind of money I have. And so, of course, I help my children more than they could help me. Um, and and of course, it brings me pleasure that I can see that they don't struggle.
Yeah.
Houses in our area are pretty expensive. People who do not have parents who are well off find it really hard to get the down payment that is necessary. Well, it was easy for my children because their parents are doing well and they provided good chunks of money
It's
to
not a
help
bad
them do that.
it's not a bad deal to be in the will of your will, it sounds like. But so I had an interesting conversation today with somebody who's built a tremendous operation. He's probably net worth about $200 million. And the goal that we're working on right now is to create his finances so it is digestible for his children. So what he's working on is selling. He has, let's say, 20 different companies, is selling 10 to 15 of those companies so he can pass to his kids 5 companies or 3 companies, understanding his kids' capabilities and then passing wealth to them that way, instead of just saying, here it is, you continue doing it the way that I do it. But he's a once in a one in a million type of guy. So it's such an important thing to understand what the next generation and how they can handle it, and then design your portfolio accordingly, not the way that you can handle it. Every person's different. They just happen to be your children.
Absolutely, yeah, and I've listened to many very wealthy people, and some of them are smart, and some of them are not. Uh, and so, there was a man who at a meeting, where families were sharing their impressions. Uh, his daughter was not interested in college and was not interested in his business, but she was interested in art. And a speaker in an earlier session talked about art as an investment, and it gave him an idea. I'll open a gallery for her. Will it make money? I don't care. I have plenty of that stuff, but it will give her a vocation. It will give her something that is going to fill her life. And another woman said, don't make your wealth into golden handcuffs. Find out how you can enhance the well-being of your children and your grandchildren if you know them. Um, I don't really know. Some people are fortunate enough to have great grandchildren before they are senile, but I don't think that there are many people who know the generations beyond that. And so this notion of I care about whatever, my dynasty, blah, blah. You are not the king of England, Uh, just take care of the family and take care of the community. And obviously that is what you are trying to do for your clients.
So let's talk about the Jewish community for a second. Obviously, we have such significant amount of expenses when it comes to tuition and where we live, and we live in higher tax states, and our kosher food is more expensive, and the amount of kids we have. And it's a big struggle for people that, let's say, don't come from parents like you that are giving and can't really afford to give the extra additional vig to their kids so that they can survive. How do you relieve, or what would you recommend to relieve the stress of those people to make more money and build more wealth when they're really just trying to survive?
I think that you have two kinds of people, or the same people at different stages in their lives. I think that early on, the commandment is to say they have tuition for the kids, they have high living expenses, and so on, and you are trying to arrange for them such that they can live within their means or slightly below, and save. And so you might say, maybe you should take less fancy vacations, or guide the kids to a state university rather than one that is private and charges high tuition. These are the kinds of trade-offs people must make. And so, that really is the thing about you. Uh, I know from another field. I know from architecture. I had an architect who understood my taste and designed the house that is right for me. But what is amazing about him is that he can adjust to different tastes. And so if somebody wants very elaborate stuff with a lot of gold leaf, he can do that too. uh, and so on. So it really takes a lot. I mean, I can see you working with people who are so different from one another, and you cannot really change them and make them more like you. You really try to help them within the framework that they provide you.
Yeah, 100%. You have to work around and customize. But I do think it is important. Like, people think in the Jewish community that, oh, well, it's so expensive, I have to do all these things. But there are options. You don't have to send to the private universities. You don't have to send to all the very expensive Passover programs. Like, when we were growing up, we said we want to go to Florida. We couldn't afford flights we're 6 kids and 2 adults and a babysitter. So what we did was we drove, and that was a great vacation. Or we drove to Canada in the winter, which was a weird thing, Dad, that you kept making us do. It was very cold there, just FYI. So we did all these things, but it adjusted our life until we were able to rudimentarize the way that we thought about building wealth and the way that we spent our money. We are not stuck. We have options, and there's ways to grow wealth. I'm going to bring my dad in. He has a couple questions, and I try to remind my dad, questions are 1 sentence long. They end with a question mark.
Oh,
David K.
boy, treat
Thank
your
you,
father with respect.
I give him a lot of
Yair.
respect, but I give my listeners even more respect.
Don't worry, Meir. Thank you, Yair, and I'm going to ignore that anyway. So it doesn't really make a difference anyway what you say. But I find like a lot of what you're saying, Meir, very interesting, and it folds in very well with our approach. But what I would also say, like going back to what you said at the beginning, that you're taking the clients taking their RMDs, but putting it back into savings and not adjusting their lifestyle. I feel it myself. Like, I have a fear of running out of money. I could have $1 billion. I would still have that same fear. So how can you approach that? Like, how can you help that assuage that fear so that people can live their best life and use their money?
Well, I think that this really is where the numbers are going to matter. In other words, you can do a spreadsheet, as I said, and say, here is what you are spending. And for the people who are in this R&D stage, uh, you can show them that they will not run out of money if they spend as they do. There are many people with 10 million or more when they are 70 who are afraid they are going to run out of money. No, you're not going to run out of money, buddy, even if the blessing to live to 120 occurs to you. So once you have done that, now they will understand. Some will not, some just find, and here comes those emotions. Some people find that dipping into capital, that spending from their saving is so painful that they would rather redeposit the R&D money. And if you can just show them the experience of other people, talk about yourself, talk about this fellow Meir Statman. At some point, I understood that I'm a wealthy man, that I should not, that it is silly for me when I go long distance flying to Israel, that I should buy coach tickets and then be on the wait list for upgrade. And I was not upgraded in 2016 once. And then I said, this is stupid. We are too old. We are too well off to play those games. I'm going to pay those outrageous monies for a comfortable bed on the way long distance. But I don't go to Michelin restaurants. I will not pay $600 for dinner that supposedly is out of this world. I'd rather go home and slice a tomato. But
I think
that
we
there are
have the
different
same
people.
approach. We want to maximize every dollar for our clients. We want to make sure that it's being as much value as you could squeeze out of every dollar as possible, so that
Yes.
it's not a waste. But you're right. I mean, like my wife, she comes back. Oh, she saved $5 on buying this carrots or whatever it is. I said, I really don't care about the $5. Like, she's super excited. I just don't care. I mean, it doesn't change my life. Maybe that's the point. Is you should go through. We do those numbers. We crunch the numbers. We'll show them the spreadsheets, and maybe we'll show them that it's just not going to make that difference in their life. That extra money that you spend to go up to upgrade yourself, that couple $1,000s, it's not going to change your life. Maybe that's
Yeah.
what you have
Yeah.
to
My
emphasize.
portfolio goes up and down by many thousands every day. I don't care. But if I'm shortchanged by $50, I'm going to spend too much time trying to retrieve it. And I
Spend
think
half the day
that,
on the phone calling for that refund
yeah,
of
exactly.
$10.
And I have to remind myself, hey, Meir, calm down. $50 is money, but it is not something that is going to change your life. And you should not spend many hours trying to retrieve it. Better use for your hours.
At our age. So we have that value approach too. So it's very similar, and we'll start with that just to get to know who the people are, so that they don't get stuck in those kind of in the ruts. But it's great to meet you.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll pass it
Sometimes,
back to
yeah.
Yair. I had enough question marks in my question.
I don't even think there was one question
There
mark.
was. I made
That
sure there was a
is,
couple.
Yeah, you made sure because of my reminder. That's the
That's
difference.
right.
hey,
That's
Without it, I try
uh,
not to say it every time, Mayor, but I feel like I have to. My dad, it just is what it is. But
yeah,
just so
remember
for
the
our
Ten
listeners, my dad's right now.
Commandments.
Sorry, what were you saying, Mayor?
Remember the Ten Commandments about respecting your mother and
I
father.
will not kill anybody. Don't you worry. I will not. I'll honor one God. But Mayor, what would be the before we close off? What would be the best piece of advice you can give to somebody in terms of their finances and something that can really help enhance people? What's your ultimate message for people?
Well, the message I'm making really is that life well-being is a portfolio, kind of like a portfolio of stocks and bonds and real estate and so on. There's family, there are friends, there's health, there is work, there is religion, there's society. Uh, there are no people, I believe, who have all of those domains perfect. You know, there might be a disabled child, as we have. It might be work that is not very satisfying. It might be cancer at an early age. Uh, Stuff happens. And
Everybody
so
has something. Everybody has
what we
something.
do, yeah, what we do really, I say, is kind of like in a portfolio. You know, some stocks go up, some down, but we hope that the overall is okay. We transfer well-being from one domain to another. So for us, for example, having one daughter who is disabled, but fortunately we have a good amount of money, so we can support her without changing ourselves or her sister. And we are fortunate that her sister truly loves her and supports her, and we know that she is going to support her when we are gone, and that brings us great deal of well-being. That really is what I'm saying. There are some things in life that cannot be changed. Sometimes there is a divorce, as I say, sometimes there is an illness and so on. uh, but what we do is, instead of just dwelling on that part that is not going well, to think about it as a portfolio and transfer well-being from one domain to another. um, and to remember not just your family, but also the community. There are, however little you think you have, there are people who have less.
Yeah.
I think help them, and it is going to enhance their life well-being and yours as well.
Great. Dr. Meir Statman, can you give us where people can find you, the name of your book, where people can find it?
The name of my book is A Wealth of Well-Being, a holistic approach to behavioral finance. It is available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and other places if they have my name, if they have the title of my book. I hope that they see it, that they buy it. More important, that they read it. I think that they're going to find themselves. They're going to see mirror images of themselves. They're going to see images of other people from other cultures, China, Mexico, the UK, and they're going to say, hey, you know, that kind of behavior is interesting, and it might be better than what I'm doing. Good, you know, good. Knowing at least two cultures, American and Israeli, helps me to put them side by side and say, I adopt the better of the two in any case. And I think that is really going to be the contribution of my book.
Amazing. Meir, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for jumping in. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll see you on the next one.
This podcast is provided for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered investment, legal, or tax advice. Listening to this content does not create an advisory relationship. Advisory services are offered through Klyman Financial, DBA of the Partners Wealth Management, a SEC-registered investment advisor. Any opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not constitute an endorsement of the advisory services. Investment involves risk, and there is no guarantee that any strategy discussed will be successful.